Hello, you are listening to Ultra Q, episode 62. My name is Red. I'm joined by Mel.
If for whatever reason I get invited onto Conan O'Brien, I'm bringing that clip of Minipene with a girl in a wheelchair.
Yeah. We will get to that. Thank you, Minami, for showing up to the show. At last, welcome. Also joined by Brad.
I guess one out of your three summer horror series episodes being actually kind of a horror thing is okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if the winter horror series last season was that horror either.
This is true. I mean, I'll be fair. One of them's really, really good. It's just, it's also coming up. Minami shows up and turns out to be evil. Thank you, Minami. That's exactly what I wanted. I like it when the show is evil sometimes. Also coming up, we've got the most annoying guy sits next to you on a train. Which is, maybe not a relatable experience to Brad.
No.
No. Just doesn't trains don't happen. Also, the return of the Saburo bird connection.
We just had a Saburo too, which is funny.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was just like, damn.
It's the same boy.
Keeps coming up.
It's the same.
This one at least in my head going, oh, this is a spiritual successor to that one episode.
This is a Jun situation, as in Gento's dad, Gento's son, even Jun. This is the same boy, different actors across time. Before we get to any of that, what have we been up to this week, Brad?
So Rapid and Steel officially is out now. And I think last time I talked about it, it was just me and my friends playing through the demo. I can't quite remember. But yeah, it's been a good time because I'm a stubborn asshole. I decided that my very first time playing through on solo, I was going to clear an area on hard mode. Now, when you do, so like this is kind of, again, this is the FF14 but rabbits and like a shmup setup, but you're doing like raids
in FF14. Sorry.
True, that is true, but it's all rabbits all the way down here.
I love
that seems like what FF14 is sometimes.
Those cat people are gonna throw a hairball at you.
The thing is, we both say this, and yet the real freaks of FF14 are absolutely the dragon women.
I can confirm I was friends with one of them and had a podcast with them, and I'm no longer friends with the dragon woman player.
Oh,
do you still have the podcast, though?
What?
That was a joke.
Oh, I did hear. I'll discover in due time when the podcast is out, and I'll probably laugh.
It was a good joke.
I'm looking forward to it. So, me and my friends have all been playing it. My friend Trick has like 30 hours in this fucking thing already. I don't know how, but he's been giving me advice, and I feel like I am learning how to play Final Fantasy XIV better than like the God knows how many hours of Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn I've played. Because, this game has boss fights that you actually need to, like, move around for and, pay attention to gameplay mechanics. And guess what you don't do in, like, the first 30 hours of FF14 when you start a new character. So that's been fun. It's weird because I do have some gripes with that game. But also I'm in that kind of frustrating spot where it's like, I don't know how much of this is stuff that I just need to get used to, and will not become an issue when I get better. But I have heard my other friends also kind of have these gripes. For one thing, a lot of the areas seem kind of inconsistent in terms of complexity. my friend shared this comic the other day that someone had drawn that was like, oh, you get to this one area boss on hard, and it's like, oh, can you deal with my my ridiculous machinations? And it's like, get in the circle. And then the other one is just like, okay, you need to play Bomberman and also a shmup at the same time. And also there's a rotating laser cross that covers the whole screen that you need to stay within, in addition to staying in your Bomberman safe zones. And it like, it's just like bullet hell pattern on top of bullet hell pattern on top of FF14, like, mechanic, and it gets a little much. I was actually talking with my friend Trick, and we both kind of came to this weird spot where we feel like normal is maybe too easy, and hard might be a little too hard, and we almost kind of wish there was a difficulty in between. Because hard is a step up, and it's a little
firm
rough.
difficulty.
Yeah, exactly. I have not completed a full run yet. So how it works, because it's a roguelike, is you select your first area, and you go through, and then you hit the boss, and then I believe it selects 2 of the other areas randomly afterwards. I have done a run on solo where I beat what people seem to consider the hardest area on hard, and I just, like... I did this thing where I randomly just picked an area, like, oh, I'll do this one first, and then I discovered that, like... You know the Steam achievements, it's like, oh, so many percentage of players have, like, this achievement. For clearing all the areas on, like, hard, like, each of them have their individual achievements. That's the one with the lowest completion rate so far, and for good reason, because the boss fight at the end is fucking bullshit. But I was a stubborn asshole, and I'm like, no, this is gonna be my first solo clear on hard. It'll all be smooth sailing from here. And I did it, just barely. And then I cleared a few of the other areas on hard, with some of my friends, but we haven't, like, at least I haven't completed a full run yet of, like, doing all 3 areas. I'm sure if I, like, put it back down to normal, I probably could. In fact, I might do that, just to, like, see what it's like to do the full thing. But yeah, learning that game's been fun. A little tricky. I still think that there's some markers and, like, mechanic, legibility issues for some of those fights. They do seem to be making some tweaks. I know if you're colorblind, there's a few issues that the devs seem to be trying to address, like, there are certain mechanics where, like, a color circle will appear around your character, and you and the other people on your team have to, like, match colors. The one thing they did that they attempted to, like... Obviously, that's not going to work for people with colorblind issues, so what they did is they also give you a shape on top of your character, too, like, oh... triangle needs to match with triangle, or, like, square needs to match with square, star needs to match with star. The problem is that because so much shit is covering the screen, even people with those issues are saying, like, it's not really helping. So it sounds like they're pretty active in... My friend said that there's a Discord server where they're pretty actively, like, taking feedback and talking to people that are, like, playing the game and you know, talking in there. So I think they're working on stuff like that. I know that, like, even the few days or, like, week or so it's been out, I've been, like, every few days there's, like, a little, like, tiny patch to the game, so they're actively working on stuff and fixing stuff. Only other complaint I have with the game is that every few fights, you get to a treasure chest room where you and everyone get to, like, compete for, like, well, I say compete, it's like MMO style, like, looting, where, like, you know, you both, like, select the thing, and then there's, like, a random draw to see who gets it, sort of thing. And they're, like, typical roguelike upgrade type stuff. The only issue I have is that this game really likes to do the thing where it's like, oh, they're not, like, flat upgrades. A lot of these pieces of gear and, like, ability upgrades and stuff that you get have, like, one really good benefit, but then also a downside that comes with it. And a lot of the times, I just think the downside is so annoying that even if the upgrade it gives is really good, it's like, I don't want to play with, like, reduced movement speed, or...
I feel like movement
stuff
speed
like
is, like,
that.
the one thing where I'm like, don't kneecap this.
Yeah, it's,
It's like, oh, if you have to upgrade the movement to feel good, that's also a design flaw. Just make it move good to start.
The thing that this game does is everyone kind of has, like, a standard movement, but then certain abilities you use, and this is very class dependent too, Like for example, the class I've been playing is an archer class. It's called the Sniper Rabbit, and that one's interesting because your primary ability, you have to be horizontally aligned to the enemy. So there's like a positional based thing there, but then you have a special ability that just lets you fire like a volley of 3 arrows, and that's homing, so you can just shoot it anywhere on the screen. And it also doesn't slow your movement speed down like your other abilities do. So it kind of has this fun thing where when you're safe and there's openings, you horizontally align yourself to the enemy and you start taking shots. When you need to start dodging stuff, but you still want to get your damage off because, DPS is you're trying to get all your damage in all the time and do your rotation. You use your special more when you need the movement. But then, also there will be, upgrades where it's like, oh, that one ability you have that lets you move around freely and attack? What if we made it so that you stand still while you're using it? And it's like, I'm never taking this. It's so important to how I play this game and how I know how to work the boss fights that I don't want to learn how to work around this, so I'll just take the other options, I guess. So yeah, I think this is also, to be fair, something that could be resolved if they just added more upgrades to the game. Because past a point, it's just like, oh, I feel like a lot of these kind of start to repeat, and I've seen a lot of what it has to offer already. But yeah, fun game. I recommend it, especially, I'm enjoying this as someone who I would not call myself an MMO guy or, a raiding guy by any means. This is kind of my first experience, really touching this stuff. But if you're in that scene, you'll probably get a good kick out of this. It's a fun time.
Nice. I've seen some footage of it. It looks pretty fun.
I'd like to pick up the game. I'm just, unemployed at home.
Is that all you've been up to?
Yeah, I had a migraine earlier this week that took me out for a day and a half, and then I needed to do work to make up for the day I called off. Cause
no worries.
Life is like that sometimes.
I have not really brought anything today. Mel, what you been up to?
I got one thing.
Yeah.
But also the PSA, because it's funny. Apparently this week, Precure did a crossover with Crayon Shin-chan, which is funny.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I saw some things you posted earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. There was, in the Shin-chan episode, there was one of the 3 shorts was a crossover with the 2 of them. And then in the Precure episode, Shin-chan shows up for 2 minutes in an otherwise completely unrelated episode that's actually plot relevant, which is also funny.
I see. It's just yeah, we'll do a crossover with you. Do we have space for a crossover with them?
Yeah, it's a pretty good episode because the parents know now, which is interesting. But then Shin-chan is here for 2 minutes. It's completely unrelated to the episode.
Damn. I gotta hop on Wonderful Precure.
You do. It's good. I like it. Anyway, though, for the actual thing. Last Sunday, I got around to watching Stalker, the 1979 movie by Tarkovsky.
That's a movie.
It is a movie. A fucking beefy 2 hours, 40 minutes, just like Solaris.
Yeah.
It's interesting watching this after Solaris, but also way after Roadside Picnic.
Mm-hmm.
A far looser adaptation than...
from what I have heard, yes.
Yeah, Solaris is we talked about it last time. He's doing something different with it than the book was, but he's still following the plot beats generally. You're just oh yeah, that's the thing that happened in the book.
The thing that I found pretty funny was I watched Stalker because I was interested in people hype up those games, and I was like, the Roadside Picnic is a book, and then there's also a movie by Tarkovsky, and I watched the movie, and I'm like, this doesn't seem much like those games.
Yep.
and then I find out it's oh, the stuff where there's all these different Stalker guys going in and picking up relics and bringing them back out, that's from the book. Okay.
Yeah, like there's like gesturing to stuff in the book, like the protagonist has a daughter named Monkey, and like the thing they're trying to get at the room, like the plot is basically like this stalker is bringing a couple guys, only known as the writer and the professor, into a place in the zone, which is, the thing about Roadside Picnic. And he's trying to bring him to the room, which is like a place where wishes are granted, which is kind of like what the last section of Roadside Picnic is about. It's just sort of like the ultimate thing in.
I see.
At the end of the book is like, oh, there's a thing that grants wishes. Maybe ? But like
in the movie, it's definitely kind of. Listen. It definitely does something akin to granting wishes.
Yeah, I think the thing about the movie is it kind of leaves things vague enough about how much the weird shit is real. But that's part of the fun of it, I think. Definitely a case of where I think part of it is also this is 1970s Soviet Union, where maybe the ability to do fancy special effects is more difficult than Ultraman Ace.
I see.
So some of the weird shit in Roadside Picnic they probably just couldn't do, which does remind me of just like a thing in Solaris, because there's a bit at the beginning of Solaris where there's like driving on a highway for about like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Tarkovsky. And I'm like, oh damn, this is like a really neat looking highway. And then I started seeing familiarity with the buildings, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't Cyrillic writing on these signs, this is Japanese. And then I later find out Tarkovsky got permission to like film the highway scene in Tokyo, because he was like, damn, this is futuristic looking, and I want to have a futuristic thing.
That's pretty funny.
And it is funny, just like saying like, oh wait, this is the same highway that you just like casually see in like these Ultraman episodes we've been watching, because it's contemporaneous with that. So
that's funny.
But yeah, there's like Tarkovsky's definitely like similar to Solaris. He's like putting more of that overt sci-fi stuff to the wayside in favor of the more like philosophical or psychological stuff. It's like the book Roadside Picnic has a lot of like, what are the rules of the book? What are the weird traps and stuff you gotta watch out for? Was it caused by alien? Or, well, it seems to be is the definitive thing that's caused by aliens, but we just don't know anything about the aliens or why they did it. And meanwhile, Roadside Picnic is and Stalker's like, well, a meteor happened, I guess, and it's weird in here.
I think the thing that I remember about the film is that because like I see people talk about Stalker, like the games, there's all these like different things, and there's like very like concrete like things that you have to avoid and stuff, and then I'm like watching the movie and like, okay, there is a suggestion here that there are rules here, there are like real concrete rules, and this guy just like is only sharing exactly what needs to be shared at this very moment, and he's not going to tell me all the fucking rules.
Yeah, I'd say
he's played the game, I haven't played the game, and he's like showing me his let's play.
I'd say if the games are like that, it's maybe a bit more like Roadside Picnic itself, where like Roadside Picnic is like, yeah, there's just a weird slime sometimes that eats your legs, be careful.
Yes.
I forget, have either of you read Roadside Picnic yet or not?
No, I have not.
No, it's good.
I read it like a while back, but I'm not gonna lie, it hasn't really stuck. Like, I remember liking it, but like it's not stuck with me.
Yeah, I had to refresh myself a bit on the book.
I do remember I think I liked the movie more.
I think I maybe liked the book more, but also I'm like, both are good, I think. And, also kind of hard to compare in some ways, just because it feels like, even more so than like Solaris, just Stalker just feels like
completely
it's not adaptation, really. It's more like, well, yeah, I got the rights to do something in this setting, kind of.
I think I once read the Wikipedia page for Roadside Picnic and was like, oh, none of that's not in the fucking movie.
Yeah. It is cool. I think both Solaris and Stalker, you see Tarkovsky really enjoying creative use of Kurosawa mode.
Yes.
There's a lot of, in Solaris, there's like just like certain scenes where I think for different emotional vibes, he switches to black and white, or like black and white with like a tint. Whereas in Stalker, it's pretty uniformly like outside the zone. It's all in sepia asterisk, and meanwhile, color is exclusively for within the zone itself or for things like touched by the zone, which I think is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. It's a good atmosphere, good moody vibes.
Yes.
That scene with the birds really like stuck in my brain.
Yeah, it's cool. It is just a movie where it's mostly a movie about like three guys walking and like they talk about their worldview, and then there's like the dread of like, well, something might get us. Like
there's like the vibe that they kind of hate each other, but like in like a way that they realize is like, as everyone hates each other. This is just I don't know. Yeah.
And it's kind of also just like, well, you're not that different from us. And that's maybe why we hate each other. We see ourselves in each other. The end of the movie is pretty neat, though it doesn't have like the same gut punch feeling that the end of Solaris does, but it's kind of like cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think it fits the way it is. I'm not gonna spoil the end of the movie, but it's just kind of like, oh, yep, that's the end of the journey, huh? And then it goes into some interesting places.
It's been a while since it's been like a couple of years or something since I watched Stalker, but like I was like the moment the scientist reveals why he's got his backpack with him, like very casually just says, oh yeah, this is this, and I'm just like, holy shit. That's like up there with like the, I don't know, like the 12 Angry Men like stabbing the knife in the table shit. I popped off for that.
I gotta watch that movie. But yeah. Also, it's a shame, like, reading up. This movie had a trouble production, and it's kind of fucked, and it also may have probably killed people who worked on the movie, including Tarkovsky himself.
I did not know about this stuff.
Yeah, because they filmed, I guess in order to sell, like, the decrepitness of the zone, they filmed an actual rundown chemical plant in Estonia. Which meant they were inhaling some of those chemicals.
Well,
and then, oh damn, some of the people who worked on the movie, including Tarkovsky, got cancer and died.
Oh, you know what? I have heard. I did hear that. I didn't realize
he John Wayne'd himself. Idiot.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was the reason. Oh, that's gruesome.
Yeah, it's double fucked up because apparently they had to film the movie like 3 times.
I did know about this bit.
Yeah, because apparently like they'd filmed it once, and something happened when processing the film, so it had to be thrown out. And then like Tarkovsky and like his cinematographer had it falling out, so they got a new guy, and the second guy sucked. So they filmed the movie for a 3rd time.
Well,
lol.
You know, that probably comes through in the like mundane, like, oh, we hate each other, like that.
Yeah,
having to do something a 3rd time probably helps in selling that.
Yeah.
But God, that sucks.
Yeah.
I think I had heard like there was like something about like the cancer stuff that happened. I didn't realize it's because of where they were filming. That makes sense though.
It would have been nice if the first movie came out and then they just didn't get cancer. Well, that's a good movie though. I will say, the scenes where they're just wading through the grossest water imaginable does hit worse, knowing that, like, oh, this is, like, actually a place that gives them cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know
Because you can, like, see how grimy and gross the water is as they go in.
It is.
Like, oh, no.
Yeah. Well, that does not, because right, here's the thing. So, sometimes if you don't know what is up with the movie, you can go through it thinking like something's gonna jump out at these guys, and so I was kind of in semi like horror movie mode.
Well,
and
yeah, I mean,
so,
there's a degree to which I was like, I don't think anything's gonna happen to these guys, but I think like the movie does a good enough job making me think that it's impossible something could happen. And plus, I've read Roadside Picnic where things do happen to guys.
Yes,
So-
this was also the thing. I'd seen trailers for Stalker, and it's like, well, there's monsters jumping out at dudes all the fucking time. So, I figure at some point they're gonna get jumped. But like, now I'm no longer going to be able to comfort myself with these are actors, they're safe. No, they're not.
Yeah, like
they're killing themselves.
Like another thing Stalker pulls from Roadside Picnic is like they have the bit where it's called, oh, this is a meat grinder. That's also a thing in Roadside Picnic. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was like the one moment where he was like, oh yeah, what we just went through the meat grinder, and I was like, oh, he's like he knows what he's getting the tutorials and he's not telling anyone what they are.
And they do kind of call him out on this in the movie too. They're like, bro, you just like being the information guy.
Yeah, though I love the writer. I love him. He's like he's such a grimy asshole, and but him like you think I didn't see you pull 2 long matches.
Yeah. I've definitely heard, like, in terms of themes, this seems to be like a movie about faith and stuff, which I can see. Like, I've seen some takes that's like overtly religious, which seems to be the more common one. I've also seen a take that's like sort of like in the context of like Brezhnev era Soviet decay and like the USSR kind of like coasting in a moribund state without real ideological foundation anymore. And I'm saying I could see like argument for both in a way, but I'm not necessarily sure like which one is. I'm not as well versed in Tarkovsky to say which one is more definitive, or maybe maybe it could be both.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think either one has to. Like, you can
read it both ways. It's not like saying like, oh, there's a correct way. It's more just like it's just interesting to think about.
It's also just I bet those kinds of things stack. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like I think sometimes even if you aren't like thinking about something consciously and put it in, it still like puts into your work because like in the air.
Because there's a really interesting thing where like I don't want to. You can't currently talk about the ending, but like there's this interesting thing where it's like all 3 of them are kind of right about what the room is. Like, it is irresponsible to just have this lying around. It is irresponsible to try to use it. And also, it's like, if you're someone, if you're like a, if you're a nobody, what else do you fucking have?
Yeah.
You don't know you don't know the wanting to wish like that. Anyway,
yeah.
Stalker, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit of, I think also there's like resonance between Roadside Picnic and Stalker, where it's sort of like the like a down on his luck working class guy. He's like the guy who has to be the expert, bringing in the academic guys into the zone. That's sort of like a thing between both, where it's like, oh, the stalkers are like the people who have in Roadside Picnic are like the guys who are like nothing. And so they have to become like illegal stalkers. And like, meanwhile, the academic guys don't really know what they're doing, to their detriment, kind of thing. It's interesting dynamics there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I remember watching Stalker and being pleasantly surprised. I thought it would be very easy to just make the Stalker like just like straight up just like kind of the hero, in the way that I don't necessarily think Stalker does. Yeah.
The main protagonist in Roadside Picnic does just suck.
Okay. Like, yeah, like I like there's like the very first scenes of Stalker do go a long way to being like, oh, this dude's kind of a dirtbag.
Yeah, like that's kind of how Roadside Picnic is too. It's like he's not a good guy, but also it's like the circumstances of maybe why he's not a good guy, or like why he needs to do what he needs to do, or like why he can't not do, at least in his own mind, kind of thing.
When he gets into the zone in Stalker and he just becomes like so kind of like giddy and childlike about it, and like when he's getting mad at them for breaking the rules and like throws a pipe, and like the way he behaves, like he's got a very serious concern because it's like you're gonna fucking kill yourself, but the way he does it is like it's almost like petulant. It's like no, don't touch the zone.
It's really funny when after that he's like the writer's like going to take his drink from his like flask, and he's like, oh, can I see that? Can I have a bit of that? And he's like, sure, and then he just pours it out.
I remember way more of this movie than I thought. Yeah, this movie rules.
It's really good. Yeah, I already had a good time. I think like even if I think maybe I don't know. I think trying to compare Roads I Picked against Stalker is a bit difficult because
a little futile.
Yeah, it's like it's more difficult than comparing Solaris the book with Solaris the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think both movies are worth watching, and both books are worth reading. So I should
revisit Roadside. I barely remember anything that happens in it. I should touch it again. It's short, so it helps.
Yeah, after I watched the movie, I re-listened to some podcasts about Roadside. I kind of remind myself a bit of what happens. Like, oh yeah, that book rules. I like it a lot, actually. So
sick. Did you have anything else?
No, I'm good. I didn't have much this week.
Yeah, I mean, I've always got stuff going on. It's just I keep picking things that are fucking long.
Oh yeah, you don't like the Ginyu Force?
The Ginyu Force. All right, here's the thing. I believe I tweeted this exact thing. Maturity is realizing that you don't hate the Ginyu Force. You're just getting really bored of the back-to-back non-stop fights on Namek. I was getting sick of Namek. I'm done with Namek now. The final fight with Frieza was pretty good, so I'm like, yeah, okay, we're good.
I had a really funny moment, I want to say, in my college years, where, growing up, I was always like, oh yeah, Namek Saga, my favorite Dragon Ball Z, stuff. And then on further meditation, without really revisiting the material all that much, honestly, from childhood, is I was like, I think that's just because it was, new and fresh, and, everything was cool and weird and exciting. But whenever I think about, character moments in Dragon Ball, it's like, oh, all the good shit's in the Cell Saga. So
I'm so far I'm really high on 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai and the arc when the Vegeta showing up and
it's so good.
Kicking everyone's ass is amazing. I love
because you're reading the manga, right?
Yes, I am reading the manga.
Yeah. Does it have the line where Nappa goes, I hate the media, and then blows up a bunch of journalists?
No! I wish it did.
I think that might be dub exclusive. I do not know.
Yeah, I love the clip that goes around all the time. Because this is not my. I know about Dragon Ball. I know what's coming. But I love the clip that goes around of Vegeta trying to call his pod back after he gets his ass kicked, and it cuts to a phone screen says that they jumped me. Send tweet. But yeah, I've been reading 2 Chinese classics. I've been reading Journey to the West, manga form, and I started reading Water Margin like a fucking idiot.
I did see you started that in the book channel.
Yeah, it's
of the normal mapping server.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. It's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be a lot of guys. It's not quite three kingdoms. Yeah,
it's
108 guys
at least.
Three Kingdoms has a lot of guys, but they're grouped and they don't. They're not. It's not set in a short time frame, so they come and go. So you lose Lu Bu and you get Kongming, right? It's the names they come and go. This no, not the case. This is these guys will be here until the end of the book, basically.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
There's multiple versions of Water Margin.
Okay, so
in terms of like chapter count.
Yes, so there is a like 100 plus chapter count, which is one that at the Water Margin is based on a real loosely based on a real guy who led a bandit rebellion and eventually got like recruited by the Emperor and carried out some campaigns for the Empire.
Iron-blooded orphans.
There are a lot of versions of Water Margin that cut the post amnesty campaigns. I am reading one of those versions. It's the 70 something chapter version. Okay. I'm aware there's a 100 plus chapter version, but like it's just not the translation that I want necessarily. I'm going to read. This is like a very common. It's like I'm going to read this version, and I'm going to understand that if I want to go on, I'm going to have to pick up something else.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was thinking,
yeah,
I think it's like there's a 70 chapter version, and there's a couple versions that go, I think maybe 100 chapters and 120 or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically two different versions. It's just that there's also like are you reading like the light version or the dense version? And it's like, well, I don't. This is getting very complicated. Can you give me a book? But yes, I'm reading a 70 chapter version. This book's really the tone is. This is much less about highfalutin guys. This is about proper like bandits. And there's some amazing, because like the chapters end with like poems, and so you have stuff like a chapter about Ludar ends, and it's like, oh, where's Ludar gonna go? And the poem's like, virtuous monk with sword and staff, he will root out corruption at court and destroy the wicked. And you turn the page, and the chapter title is Ludar burns down a monastery and gets expelled from another. Ludar is introduced in a chapter where he punches a guy in the face so hard his eyeball falls out.
God damn.
Yeah. Kills him by punching him 3 times and goes, "Oh, I didn't know I had it in me like that. Oops."
It's like the Invincible page of like, "Oh, I thought you were stronger," except he's like not actually that concerned for the guy, but more like, "Well, this is a bad situation."
Yeah, oops. Didn't mean to do that.
So my understanding of Water Margin, and I'm curious if this is true, is that the first 1/4 of that book is like, let's introduce all these fuckers.
That sounds about right so far. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm like, I have always like of the, I believe it's like the 4 like
there's like 4 classics. Yeah.
Classics of like Chinese literature. Water Margin always interested me the most, just because like formatting and layout wise for like how you tell a story with this like this many people involved. I'm like, this sounds fascinating to read.
So it is working on like what I would call Black Beauty logic, where it's like they like a character that you know crosses paths with another, and then you join that character and go on their journey, and like this is just, they just like intersect like one by one until you got this whole gaggle of people, the characters that you know, and they aren't hanging out yet, but like we're just stringing them together for now.
That rules.
Yeah.
And it's good. At the moment, I'm hanging out with I can't remember his name. Let me check the chapter title. I don't have time. I can't be asked. I'm hanging out with like the idea of bandits at the marsh have been introduced at this point. So you know, at some point I'll meet the guy in charge of them, because he's not the guy who's at that camp. Song Jiang, he's not there yet. we'll we'll see. I'm liking it so far. Shijin and Lu Da, they're my boys. But there have been a couple. There was one guy who got introduced, called I think Lin Chung, and he is the most gullible man that has ever lived. And I was
More than Lu
like,
Su?
I could tell Lin Chung that Gullible was painted on the ceiling. He'd look up and he'd be like, "Oh, it's not there. It must have faded. Would you like money to buy some more paint?" It's really funny. And so when I realized that he was gonna be one of the guys, I was like, oh no, bro, we're gonna have to fix this. And then I looked up because they're all like ranked by number in the game, like in the 108 people, and he's 6, and I was like, no, you're an idiot.
That's good.
That's not a good sign. So yeah, I'm having a great time with Water Margin.
It is fun in Suikoden. They do match up the each of like the 108 stars with the stars from Water Margin.
Oh, cool. Yes.
Because the Japanese name for Water Margin is Suikoden.
What to like introduce what the shtick is with Water Margin to people who don't know is like a century earlier, before the story happens, an inspector or a marshal, I think, from the emperor visits like a Taoist temple and breaks open a seal that contains 108 demons. And the demons then scatter around China and get reborn as people. And they're going to be the 108 bandits of the Water Margin.
And all men are brothers.
All men are brothers. I'm gonna. People said that a couple of times now. Not always true. Not always true. Sometimes not true.
Yeah. Water Margin is the book then, like, it does seem like the logical next thing to do after Romance of the Kingdoms. Obviously, I still have to finish that.
Journey of the West seems like too much, so I'm reading Dragon Ball instead. That's how that works. The other one, I'm interested in the other one, the fourth one that I never remember the name of, because it's one that is just like, it's just a sex comedy, right?
Yeah, I forgot the name. It's the one that most people forget. Dream of the Red Chamber.
Dream of the Red Chamber. Yeah, it's like been banned at various points just because it's like it's just lurid. It's like
I mean,
oh yeah,
I think a Water Margin has also been banned at various points because it's about outlaws.
Hasn't Water Margin also? Aren't there historical versions that have been edited to make it less like anti-authoritarian?
There's an introduction to my version of Water Margin that's like, this uses the translation from Jackson. But Jackson, it has been theorized that Jackson was a missionary, and he has like edited a lot of this stuff out, all the gore and the sex, and then the book kind of turns to me and winks and goes, "Don't you worry, we put that back in." So thank you very much, because I do like the bit where a man gets punched in the face and his eyeball falls out. It's pretty.
Thank you, Ultraman Ace.
Thank you, Ultraman Ace, the Ultraman Ace of Chinese literature. Yeah, I think the next one on the list, if I was going to read any more of them, would be Dream of the Red Chamber. The Journey to the West. There's a lot of repetition from what I've heard. It's a Monster of the Week show, but like, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Anyway,
maybe.
That's kind of me. I'm otherwise chilling, gaming, playing Toho.
I got more stuff working on, but I'm keeping it in my pocket.
All right. Well, in which case, we can get into motherfucking Ultraman, can't we?
Woo!
With the next two of the summer horror stories? I've abbreviated it.
Series.
Series, there we go. Summer horror series. Episode 16 is called The Summer Horror Series. Scary Story, The Cattle God Man, featuring Cattle God Choju Kaura. We have got a Yoshimura episode. Yoshimura.
He got better than Ueno, who'd had to wait until the second to last episode.
I can't believe they waited until the very end of the show to give Ueno an episode, and it was only half about him. Sucks to be Ueno.
I love how we've watched enough of these now that I have accepted that every team will have one person that kind of lives out from like a smaller rural town with like traditional folk beliefs that tie in with the kaiju or choju in this case. Even.
Yeah. Yoshimura, the guy in TAC we don't know anything about yet, is made to take a vacation to visit home for Obon, a festival, as well as the 13th anniversary of his father's death.
Unlike Ibuki, he actually likes his family.
Yeah, he actually wants to go. On the train home, Yoshimura meets...
It's very funny for reasons we'll get to later.
On the train home, Yoshimura meets the most annoying guy in the world. A city guy who's out to discover Japan.
He's so funny. He says it in English, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like, discover Japan, let's go, or something.
Yes.
It's really good.
It turns out, unfortunately, he's heading in the same direction as Yoshimura and insists that Yoshimura shows him a few good spots in his hometown. They visit a shrine where they pile these rings in honor of cows killed and eaten. The tourist thinks it's cute and takes one of the rings as a souvenir, despite Yoshimura's warnings that, you might get cursed. The tourist doesn't believe in curses, so he puts the ring on his wrist, says goodbye to Yoshimura, and immediately gets cursed and crashes his car.
This would be red.
Yes. The ring is causing him pain. Yeah. Yes. I would be like, there's no such thing as fucking curses. Shut the fuck up. I would not be disrespectful. Right, here's the thing. He appeals to him on the level of, you don't want to get cursed. What Yoshimura should appeal to him on is, look, it's fucking rude.
Yeah, be the Ken of the situation.
Yeah, it's just kind of rude, bro. Just put it back. I would not believe in the curse, but I also would not be rude. The ring is causing him pain because it's around his arm and like getting tighter, but he can't take it off anymore. Yoshimura takes the tourist home to his mum. To his home, and his mum talks shit about the type of guy who would steal one of those rings. Overnight, a priest who makes a boing sound and teleports beseeches the cow god Kaura to possess the tourist and attack Yoshimura, the TAC member, because the Yapul are involved, remember? The next day, Yoshimura and his mum go out while they let the tourist sleep in, as he seems to be sick. What's actually happening is his body is turning into a cow. He starts wandering around, eating leaves, turning more and more into a cow until he reaches the shrine and begs the statue of a cow for forgiveness. The monk appears and transforms the tourist into the giant Choju, Kaura. Kaura attacks, and until TAC can arrive, Yoshimura does his best. He knows this is the tourist transformed and yells his name, which I do not have for my summary. RIP. Yoshimura has to retreat into these artificial tombs that have been like excavated from Greece and brought to Japan by a company called Manon. Is that what's happening here?
I kind of like didn't entertain this part of the episode, but I think that's what happened.
This bit is so irrelevant to the episode. I was like, why is this here? Why have you inserted this incredible shit?
I think part of it might be because it's an olive farm.
It is, but also it's like, why have you... This is an extra layer.
It is a weird inclusion. It is a weird extra layer.
Bizarre layer. Anyway, the crew launches. There's a plan. It doesn't work. RIP. But Yoshimura. I wrote Yoshimaru. Yoshimura is brought to safety, and the crew gets the explanation of what Kaura is. Hokuto and Minami transform into Ace and manage to subdue Kaora without killing him by getting the ring off his arm and moving it to his nose. Kaora gets... Yes, somehow. Ace magic. Kaora gets thrown, hits the ground, and turns back into the tourist. With the day saved, the tourist gets a job in the town and says he's learned his lesson. He's going to settle down, and he's given up beef. Yoshimura's mom assures him that there's plenty enough fat in olive oil. The crew bids him farewell and leaves him to perform his essential duty, which is throwing bundles of straws from one pile to another pile about a meter away. The end.
What a weird fucking episode.
Isn't it so
ahead.
heartwarming when, like, the uppity city wanderer managed to settle down and get a real job working on the farm for a really rich guy?
For a really rich guy who appears to be moving olive trees from Greece to Japan. For some reason. It's a very bizarre inclusion because, once again, cannot emphasize enough, really doesn't matter to the episode at all. There's the whole Grease thing happening here. Completely irrelevant.
It's not even like a Minotaur angle, because it's like a Japanese god.
Yes.
Presumably.
I like the tourist. I like how much he sucks.
He's fun.
He's great.
I do find it funny that Ultraman Ace did that one cowbell episode of Utena 20 years earlier.
Yeah.
Just like damn. It's the same episode.
Oh, man. Yeah, God. Nanami did not, get, cow parts, though.
I mean, she did become a cow for, 2 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, I'd forgotten to what extent that episode went. Man. I should rewatch Utena someday.
Yeah, I'm rewatching it right now. It's good.
I should watch it.
It's good. It's my second favorite anime.
I don't know how much. Okay. I have something to say. The priest with the noises, ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
teleporting and just going noing. What do you do? What sound effects that?
People will just be like, yeah, we found this local god. We'll just do a curse on a guy.
Yeah. So since last week, when Brad said,
Shinichikawa going like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
One of his problems was, this show doesn't actually seem to be involving your pool very much, and it being like, oh, there's a cow god horror episode, and someone having to lean in and be like, well, what's the Yapul doing with this one? It's like, fuck, okay, the Yapul is exploiting the tourist. It's all part of the Yapul's plan.
Yapul sets up a tourist trap to trap Ace.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, we're gonna make Ace spend so much money they won't be able to get to the hotel.
This sounds like a Canagon. This sounds like a Canagon episode.
The bottled water is gonna be ridiculously priced.
Oh man. Yeah, I mostly just like this episode because it's goofy.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's good fun. It's carried, I think, by the fact that so much of it is just spent on this weird man. Like, we don't even see Hokuto and Minami until, I think, halfway through. Like, it's like post-commercial break.
Do they get lines? They might not.
Ultra Touch, which they've started saying now, I guess.
No,
I don't know if that was in previous episode. Was that in the previous?
Yeah, that's been the consistent. They said in the first episode, at least. And then in the second episode, they said Rider Touch because they were on motorcycles.
I feel like most of the time they haven't been saying it.
Maybe they don't say it every time, but they do say it, enough.
Okay. Because I noticed it this time around, have they been doing that? I thought it was new, but maybe not.
They've been workshopping it. But when they did the Rider Touch thing, they were there were behind this, there was scenes off screen. They were like, oh, when we're on motorcycles, you know what we should do?
You know what's in this year? You know what's in this year?
Oh, do you see that show? Do you see that show? It's really good.
Yeah, I think I don't think this stacks up in terms of dumb goofy fun as the
King Crab.
the crab.
King Crab is simply, it doesn't get better than. My dad.
Wait,
is
I'm
a
trying
crab.
to. Does Kaura shoot like a weird flamethrower beam?
I don't remember.
I think half
I
of them
think it
shoot.
does.
Half of them shoot flamethrowers out of their
I
mouth
forgot.
at this point.
Yeah, it does kind of run together, but every time there's one of these fuckers that shoots out fire, I'm always like, yeah, it looks very good.
Yeah, I think. Oh yeah, two other points.
Mm-hmm.
One, I do like how Ryu is like, you know what? Maybe science can't explain cow curses. Fuck it, whatever. he just rolls with it.
He's like, I'm not even gonna try, man. I'm not, down this path. There's only disaster.
There's also, I think, a line. I don't know who said it, but I just have my notes. The wrath of 6 billion cows is bursting.
Fun fact: Kaura is the name of a small Australian town.
Nice.
I'm just trying to see.
Very silly episode.
Oh yeah, he shoots a purple ray out of his head too. That's right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey Brad, who made this episode?
Yeah, so this was directed by Eizo Yamagiwa, and then
Thank you,
written by
Colin.
Toshiro Ishido.
What was the
who-
previous thing that guy wrote?
The previous thing that guy wrote, he wrote a bunch in fucking Return of Ultraman, including The Marked Woman, the Femigon episode, with Oka making a lot of mistakes at work, but also before that, wrote The Demon God Howls at the Moon, with Captain Ibuki visiting his family.
Nice.
No, hold on.
And the Oxter one
Yes,
from Return of Ultraman
that's
as
what
well.
I was fishing for.
Oh, is this guy? Hang on. Is this guy's thing cows?
This guy's thing is traditional folk monsters.
I have heard from some friends though that this guy's thing may also just be cows.
That's funny.
Oh.
As a refresher, and also I have an update on this guy because I learned some more shit that I was like, oh, I should bring this up. And it's his first time back. So, as a refresher, Ishido is the guy who, he's mostly remembered for his Ultra Series contributions being these more like, oh, we go to a small town and there's a local faith or whatever, and it involves the kaiju. He's also the guy who wrote that autobiography that was the bigoted man's life on the silver screen or some shit.
Oh, right.
And previously had worked with Jisoji and Oshima and a lot of those filmmakers. He wrote Mujo, and I should say actually too.
Oh.
Yeah. So I just kind of categorized him as that kind of camp of the Japanese new wave school of cinema. And just kind of thought he's part of that crowd. But something that I discovered that is extremely worth noting, because the Japanese New Wave, especially that side of it, is ostensibly considered a mostly leftist art movement. And that, even the movies that he worked on with Oshima, it's the one about the student protest movements and a bunch of stuff like that or whatever.
Is this guy not a leftist?
So by the end of his life, definitely not. And I'm curious, again, I just can't find enough, because I do remember when I first covered him, there was a line that, again, this was from a Japanese article that was then converted to English, not by a proper translation, but by machine translation. It was Oshima and him parted ways, which I'm that could mean a lot of things. And it was vague enough that I'm I don't know if that's on good terms or bad terms, but Oshima is definitely someone who very much interested in exploring bigotry and xenophobia in his work and stuff like that. This guy has been remembered as one of the very few right-wing members of the Japanese New Wave movement, and in particular, in 1996 there was a press conference that certain people in Japan held trying to create what they called the Association for Creating New History Textbooks. The major new history textbook that they wanted, the quote-unquote new history that they wanted to quote-unquote correct, is they wanted to delete all references to military comfort women.
Yep, sounds about right.
And Ishido's name was listed. He wasn't part of the association, but he was listed as a, like, oh, sign our, like, in support of thing. Like, he signed it. And then here, also, he wrote essays for a magazine called Shincho 45, which was known in Japan for leaning conservative, and actually shuttered back in, I want to say, 2018, because a politician with close ties to Abe published an article saying that queer people had too many rights.
I see.
And they received massive backlash for that, and we're just like, yeah, we're just cutting the magazine's not happening anymore. And then the other thing that I found that I thought was interesting, because he was a public critic of Kurosawa, which I'm like, that alone doesn't make someone conservative. Because, like, we've seen many, I think it was Oshima. It may have been Oshima or it may have been Jusoji, but, like, people from that Japanese New Wave definitely had issues with Kurosawa, and thinking that he didn't care enough about, like, the political landscape of the world, or like, giving credit to, like, how socio-political conditions can factor into people's lives, and for maybe taking too much of, like, an interpersonal, like, approach to his storytelling.
Also, sometimes you just hate a guy.
Yeah. But what I thought was interesting was that this guy was, like, a known Kurosawa critic, but instead he praised a filmmaker by the name of Yasujiro Ozu, who apparently there was also a schism there, from what I can tell, because Ozu was even more the, like, oh, politics has no place in film, it's all about the family sort of guy.
I see.
So there's a spectrum there that I thought was very interesting, of, like,
I didn't say anything, but just feels... the eyebrow was raising.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it feels like there is absolutely one discussing this, like, Japanese New Wave, like, era, like, cinema, sort of, like, cultural criticism and, like, kind of, like, the critical opinions happening at the time of, like, Kurosawa kind of, like, falling on that, like, center-left side of the spectrum. And, like, I think that's interesting, especially when you consider, like, reputation abroad, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Wow, that's fun.
Okay, so he sucks, basically.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Well, maybe at least we'll get some more cows out of him. We'll see. Mel, do you have any stuff about this episode?
Yeah, so special effects director is Yoshio Tabuchi. Kaiju designed by Yoshio Suzuki. Apparently the kaiju originally had claws at some point, but, you know, cows don't have claws, so that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I feel like I don't know enough about... I don't remember who the special effects directors, what they done do, as much as the kaiju stuff. That's fine.
That's alright.
Also, I'm gonna doing a little bio here, backtracking a bit. Because here's a guy who I didn't get to do in my Ultra Q run back, but who, even though it's not stated in the wiki, I know is doing kaiju designs for this show.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the bio. Here's the guy working on the show. Guy who's doing sculpting, Eizo Kaimai. Forgot the name of his company, but it's been in older episodes, so go look him up. I'm not doing
that.
Anyway, he got his work starting working in a haunted house doing an amusement park as a sort of introduction to the industry. In 1952, he got a job at Toho when Masao Yagi introduced him to his father and uncle, the Yagi brothers. And then he joined the sculpting team for Godzilla and would go on to work on for other kaiju movies like Rodan, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he was considered a master of finding materials for suits. For Godzilla vs. Kong Kong, apparently he used expensive yak's hair for King Kong's suit, for example. He was later brought on...
Did you say yak hair?
Yep.
Oh. Damn.
He was later brought on for Susuraya to work on Ultraman, where his contributions to that show, where he was the sculptor for Duran, the flower, and then
Yes!
And then Gameron, Dragon Palace turtle.
Hell yeah.
2 kings.
Then later that same year, in 1966, he went to form his own studio for special effects, where presumably he was working at for Return of Ultraman and Ultraman Ace and stuff. He worked on a variety of stuff in the late 60s, including Gamer movies. And then 1971, after Takayama left as the main sculptor for the Ultra series, he was brought on to replace him. And he basically, like, I think he's one of the main sculpting guys for the Ultra series up until Ultraman 80 at this point. So, though he also apparently did sculpting work for Mirror Man and Android Kakaider. After leaving the Ultra series with Ultraman 80, he was still doing a bunch of stuff, a variety of work. And then 2020, he died of leukemia at the age of 90. So,
R.I.P.
Rounding off another guy.
Yeah.
I wrote this one like two weeks ago, so I kind of forgot.
That's okay.
But yeah, he was sort of like the last guy from Ultra Q you need to get, and figured, he's doing work on this show, so may as well get him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do we have anything more to say about episode 16? The Cattle God.
I think I'm ready to cartwheel on to the next
I think
one.
we left that one dry.
Yeah. Before we do, I have a correction to make on earlier. When I was referring to the 4 classics, I was not grouping Dream of the Red Room in. I was grouping in The Plum in the Golden Vase, or The Golden Lotus, Jinping Mei, which is the one that is like just like it's just like extreme, like it's raunchy. That's the one I was thinking of. There's like a wider grouping of 6 that the Red Room gets into, and also there are groupings of 4 that the Red Room gets into instead of Jinping Mei.
I don't know if it counts, but there's another one I've heard of called Investiture of the Gods I'm curious about too. So
there are books, let me tell you.
It turns out when you have a society with a culture that dates back millennia, it's hard to like pin it down in 4 books.
Some books get made, you know?
Some books. Anyway, moving on, as Brad said, cartwheeling on to episode 17, The Demon Woman of Hotarugawa. Hang on, because it's not the same as the Choju. The Choju is called Hotarunga. The place is called Hotarugawara. There we go. This is the longest summary this week. This is a long one.
There's a lot in
this one. We see a girl visited by a mask at night, and a strange voice makes her an offer, and she accepts. Strange incidents are happening on a mountain road outside a tunnel, at a bypass. Fireflies swarm cars, and they crash, and then the skeletal remains of the victims are found later a fair distance from the cars. What the fuck is happening? The crew need to take a delivery of parts for the new V7 missile. More heroics from the terrible monster.
It is funny that they just have this ghost story-ish episode, and it's just like, yeah, there's another transport the bomb episode too.
we keep having to transport more and more missiles. The delivery would have to come by this road. Captain Ryu needs answers. We can't let the V7 delivery get attacked. Minami takes time out of the investigation to talk to a girl in a wheelchair who seems to hang out near the scene of the crime a lot. She's called Tamiko, and we learn from a man who might be her father? Who's this guy? Is this her dad?
I assumed it was her dad.
Yeah, I think it's her dad.
I think it's her dad, but like he's not at the house. Anyway, we learn from her father that she was in a car accident, and the shock has kept her from walking. She goes up into the mountain to practice walking. We don't get answers in time for the delivery, and the captain assigns Hokuto and Minami to go through with the delivery, or like do a test run or something. They get attacked by fireflies and by a demonic woman in a mask. Hokuto gets got by fireflies while Minami runs ahead to chase the demon woman, who flees by doing cartwheels. The chase leads Minami to a house in the woods where she finds Tamiko looking after her her giant firefly pet, Hotarunga. According to Tamiko, she stays at this house on her own, and Minami says, well, that won't do, and offers to stay for the night. In the night, Tamiko goes missing from her futon, and Minami hears a strange voice through the house. She follows it to a room where the demon woman is sitting in a rocking chair. The demon woman vanishes, and now Tamiko is back in her futon, and she's wearing the same clothes as the demon woman. Tamiko says that this yukata belonged to her mother. At HQ, Minami reports back. The crew decide, well, we got to learn what happened to her mother. An investigation begins, and Minami is ordered to continue watching over Tamiko, while Hokuto is ordered to watch over Minami from a further distance. Mikawa gives Minami a capsule containing a strong gas for safety. This will be important later. Out and about, Minami practices walking with Tamiko and suggests, maybe you just think you can't walk. Then, in an act on par to me with Go attempting to strangle a child in a hospital bed, we watch as Minami lets go of the wheelchair and lets it roll downhill, wearing a cold glare while Tamiko begs for help.
I think Conan O'Brien would like this part.
Yeah.
It's so wild to me. Anyway, Minami, I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game. Tamiko tumbles to the floor, and Minami rushes over, full of apologies, and says, "Oh, I was just testing you. Tonight is the night of the V7 delivery, for real this time. Staying at the house once again, Minami is lying in her futon with her fucking gun out, which is hard as fuck, but then she falls asleep. Rip, a good effort, very relatable. Minami gets attacked by the fireflies in her sleep, and when Tamiko tries to help, she instead starts strangling Minami, and suddenly she is wearing the demon mask. Minami calls for Hokuto, who was assigned to watch the house from outside. He arrives, and together the two chase the demon woman out into the woods. Hokuto tells Minami the results of the investigation. Tamiko's mother died in a car accident 5 years ago at the very spot where the demon woman keeps attacking, and at the same time too, at 2 a.m. I do the V7 delivery at a time that's not 2 a.m. Hokuto stays at the house to find Tamiko. Lol. While Minami chases the demon woman to the bypass. There, Minami splits the mask in two somehow, revealing that she was Tamiko. Tamiko wakes up.
Yeah, she kind of just like swings her arms open and it splits. It's like, well, maybe if you're Ace, you could do that, but you're not Ultraman in that moment.
Yeah. Tamiko wakes up and starts walking around. She's cured, but she doesn't remember being a demon woman. It was all in her sleep. She's been exploited by the Yapul. Remember the Yapul? They're big mad that Minami has foiled their plot. Plan B then. Transform Hotarunga into a giant choju. Minami and Tamiko get caught by Hotarunga, and so when the crew arrives with a completed V7 missile, they can't fire it. They'll kill Minami. Minami remembers the gas, triggers it, and escapes. Minami and Hokuto transform into Ace and fight Hotarunga. It's a kind of back and forth one. Ace gets laid out cold at one point from Hotarunga's tail shock attack. But the fight ends with Ace and the crew hitting Hotarunga with a V7 missile Spacium Beam combo. The crew muses over the events. Tamiko's feelings were exploited, and the victims of the crashes were fed to Hotarunga. Truly, it is the Yapul that must be blamed. Meanwhile, on the mountain, Tamiko and Minami play around, and Mikawa notes that they're like sisters. The end.
Okay.
What's up?
First of all,
yes.
I believe in medical. Miracle! Ultraman, thank you!
Have to get that out of the way.
Thank you.
Second, before the eye catch, we just get like the really weird shot of like Hokuto watching, and then the really uncomfortable zoom up of his face. It's really funny.
Is that from when he's outside of the house?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that too.
He's like, oh, this job sucks.
Yeah.
So this episode is the first like actual, aside from like maybe Baron Spider, I would say this is the first episode since then that is you could call a horror, or maybe like Prisma, early Prisma.
Yeah. This is definitely more of an actual horror thing going on.
Yeah, it's,
and I think it works. Like the scene where the ghost demon is like strangling Minami, like it like is cutting back, like it's good. It gets you. And also they do a good job of like early on she's not on screen a lot. Like it's very quick flashes, and then she's like getting out of there, and it's effective. It works.
Traditional Japanese homes have those very thin like paper walls, screens for doors, which make just perfect for silhouettes. Very good stuff with her in the rocking chair, rocking back and forth being able to see that through the screen, and then the mirror when Minami actually gets in there. One of the
Jotaro jumps out.
Yes. Minami, I'm here to save the day. The other thing about this episode is this is, I would describe this as our first Minami episode. And luckily, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably more. It's more of one than the biker episode, even, which I feel like that's the first real one, but this one's a lot more of one.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
This is.
I'd also argue there's a horror story from the perspective of the child, where you have a parental sister figure pushing you down a hill.
Yes. So, Minami, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This is the most outlandish thing ever. She's just like, oh, Tamiko? Yeah? Nothing. And it's like sudden, just like blank face, just cold, just like let go of it, goes down the hill. Incredible stuff. Absolutely ridiculous. I didn't know you had it in you.
I think Return of Ultraman, after we started making fun of it, it felt like it kind of, the whole being weird towards the disabled thing kind of went away. And back. It came back swinging.
It's back in full force. This is, yes, as far as, this is maybe the most wild it gets. Perhaps I think the idea that action is forgivable is crazy.
And then they're just playing at the end.
Yeah,
like sisters
playing around.
Yep,
walking.
frolicking even.
Yeah.
The moment her dad, when Minami was like, oh, will she ever be cured? And her dad was like, she hasn't got over the shock. And I'm like, so yes. I was like, thank you, Ultraman.
Yeah, it like really feels like they went for that angle to be like, oh, how could she be the ghost? The ghost is all the cartwheeling away, haha. And it's like it's just weird.
Yes.
I don't know if we needed. I'm gonna be real with you. I think that the idea that there's weird car crashes happening with the swarm of fireflies at the same exact time early in the morning every day is reason enough to check this out. I really don't know if we needed the excuse of, well, we got a rocket coming through on a big truck.
Now,
really weird.
I think it's funny that they have an episode dedicated to transporting the rocket, and then they have to just use the rocket.
I do agree with you that they didn't need to do that. However, what we are presented with is the implication that Tak doesn't care about anyone else. There's shit like this happening all over Japan, but if it's not in the way of their brand new missile, they don't fucking care. We're not the police. Call a fucking cop. Get out of my face. We got a delivery of a genocidal missile coming. We're gonna kill so many aliens with this. You don't understand. We're fighting an interdimensional war here.
Yeah, we're fighting creatures that can suck you up and send you in the green spin around dimension.
Yeah.
It does feel weird.
Why are they spinning?
I know. Digestion.
Yep.
That's how you digest
It does feel weird that, like, Mikawa gives Minami the brooch of gas, and it's like, it's useful, but it's also like, why did you need this in the first place? Like, what was the plan?
Yeah,
What was the intended use case for this?
It's a bit of a reach on that one. It's like, okay, okay, but yeah, there's a lot of details about this episode that do not hold up under the slightest under scrutiny. However, I do just fundamentally think it's cool when there's creepy shit happening.
The horror scenes are great.
Yeah.
I'll give it that.
They did a good job of that.
I think the cartwheeling is very funny. That's how she gets around. It's just how, imagine life like that.
Yeah. I cannot escape the, like, thing of, like, if this was, like, it's always gonna end with the big kaiju fight, of course.
Yes.
But, like,
yes.
goddamn, I started to zone out a little bit when we get to that point.
Yeah.
But everything leading up to that was very good. And it's not even to say that the kaiju stuff this episode was, like, bad.
But Hotarunga is not as fun as a demon lady.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I also do think, like, I think these fights are actively trying to, like, these action pieces are absolutely trying to lean more into, like, well, they need to get together to combine, despite the fact that the really excellent part of the two-parter, the standout scene, was like, well, they don't physically need to be there.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they're actively trying to get these two in situations where they're separated, so it's like, oh no, how are they going to turn into Ultraman?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sent the fake face of Hokuto in the chat.
There he is. Big Hokuto.
Why do they zoom in like that?
They gotta make the actors uncomfortable. Does anyone else have anything more to say about the episode before I ask Brad who made it?
I think I'm good. I think, the medical miracle counts at 10 now.
Nice.
Because seeing this was the end of the summer horror series, I was like, is this the best one? Because I'm like, this does nail the horror stuff really well.
But is it better than King Crab?
So here's the thing. King Crab shit didn't have me side-eyeing it with all the nonsense about, like, oh, you can just walk again.
Yeah, you can just talk to your dad again, though.
Yeah.
True.
I was a fucking... They pick up that horseshoe crab and the legs are just going underneath. And I'm like, put that down. That's not yours. That's not a pet.
I
I
think
do
you'll
also
find
want
my
to.
dad is not a pet. Thank you.
My dad is not a pet.
One thing I did actually want to
Mom,
highlight
I
about this
disagree, though.
episode, and I wanted to say I appreciate. Learned a lot about Mel's family.
Oh, that's not my family. Don't worry.
Oh, I thought you were... Okay, never mind. I misinterpreted what you were saying.
I'm just saying shit.
Denji coded.
I feel...
You were saying, Brad?
I'll listen to it when the episode happens.
One thing that I appreciate about this episode that I feel like has been missing from multiple episodes that we've seen so far, and I guess this kind of goes back to the, like, oh, this is definitely going more of a superheroic angle. Something that, and I had pointed out earlier, like, damn, they're really comfortable just showing the kaiju right away for a lot of these episodes. Which is fun, and I think makes sense and is a good change of pace for how they tell these stories a lot of the time. But also, goddamn, I do think in a vacuum, when I don't have to think about which one they've done more and, like, maybe if it's getting a little bit stale, it was kind of nice, again, going back to the traditional, like, oh, there's a weird setup and mystery, and we need to figure out what's going on here, which this show has been kind of seems to be removing itself from. And again, I do think part of that is just because they want to mix it up a little bit. But a good mystery is fun. So, you know, I did like that.
All right. Well, who made it?
This was directed by Tadashi Mifune, and also written by Shozo Uehara.
Nice.
This is just Kaiju is designed by Yoshi Suzuki, and the special effects director is Koichi Takano. No, wait. Hold on. Scrap that. That was for next episode.
Oh, oops.
the kaiju designed by Akihiko Gucci, and special effects director is Koichi Takano.
Damn. Okay, that was quick.
Yep.
All right. Well, it sounds like we have nothing more to say about episode 17, in which case we can move on to a throwback episode. Episode 18.
Yeah.
Give the Pigeon Back, featuring giant pigeon Choju, Black Pigeon. A boy named Saburo is forced to take. Hang on, let me try that again. This time in English. A boy named Saburo is forced to take his pet pigeon, Kojiro, away from the house by his mother. Saburo takes him out to the woods and crosses paths with Hokuto and Minami, who have just got done summarizing Patlabor 2. Hokuto promises Hokuto promises that Tak can keep a secret, and so Saburo shows them both the birdhouse he has for Kojiro. Okay. I'm fucking... Let me try this again. Hokuto promises that Tak can keep a secret, and so Saburo shows them both the birdhouse he has for Kojiro, and he calls the pigeon back with a whistle. Later, at HQ, Tak are reviewing brand new drone technology, and the only thing they're missing is a retrieval function. Hokuto's like, oh, pigeons. And everyone thinks this is a marvelous idea. The crew will harness the homing instinct of pigeons through research. Hokuto asks Saburo if they can borrow his pigeon, his specific pigeon, and Saburo agrees. The crew almost immediately loses Saburo's pigeon as it gets snatched from the skies in a flash of light by the Yapul. They plan to suck out Saburo's brain and put it in a choju and use
Not
that.
Saburo, Koichiro.
Oh, that's true. They plan to suck out Kojiro's brain and put it in a choju and use that homing instinct to send a choju directly at Tak headquarters. Hokuto is certain he saw Kojiro disappear, but nobody buys it.
Like the movie Stalker.
Yeah. Exactly. True. Hokuto and Yamanaka go to check Kojiro's birdhouse. No luck. Nothing there. Except Saburo, of course, asking, hey, how's Kojiro? They tell Saburo the bad news, and he's mad, but he accepts Hokuto's...
Specifically, the Yamanaka is like, well, you know what Toru Naruto says, you can't lie to children.
Yeah, you can't lie to Yamanaka. Hokuto is stood there being a coward, and Yamanaka has to be like, look, we lost your fucking bird, kid. Hokuto has a plan. They'll blow Saburo's whistle around where Kojiro disappeared. They do this, and two things pay attention. The remnant body of Kojiro attempting to return home, and the choju, Black Pigeon, which has Kojiro's brain. And Saburo says when Saburo hears the Black Pigeon's call, he's like, oh, that's Kojiro. Hokuto has to try to stop Saburo from getting himself killed while the rest of the crew attacks Black Pigeon, and Yapul sits in their alternate dimension going, why the fuck won't Black Pigeon do anything we say? They summon the Choju back to safety. At base, Minami tells Hokuto that the Kojiro call was coming from Black Pigeon, and Hokuto begins to figure out what's happened. And he and Minami conclude that if Saburo blows his whistle again, it will summon Black Pigeon once more. They have to find him, quick! They visit the boy's mother, and she's exasperated. She wants to tell them the whole story, and she's like, oh yeah, he went to Harumi Port. And then she wants to, like, get into it, and they're just running off. They're just like, yeah, thanks, bye. They find Saburo, but he's already blown the whistle, and Black Pigeon appears. The Yapul are like, well, all right, if it won't do anything we say, then I guess we're all in. Kill Tak. The crew appears, Ace appears, and Ace gets beat up. Black Pigeon, like, throws up on Ultraman's face, and then drops a building on him. Which is BM. Black Pigeon is about to kill Saburo, and Ace gets back up and swoops in to save him. In return, as the fight drags on and Ace begins to struggle again, Saburo calls for Kojiro and blows the whistle. This distracts Black Pigeon so that Ace can defeat him at last. Saburo and the crew find the lifeless body of Kojiro nearby a temple in the woods. Saburo blows the whistle and cries, and everyone else cries as well, but they do it while blaming Yapul for the fact that they decided to use Kojiro for testing to support their efforts in an interdimensional war. The end.
This episode gives such scientific and mystical import to the pigeon.
Yeah.
And it's... I think I liked it more when we just treated it like, he's friends with the bird. I'm gonna be honest.
This episode was ridiculous. I think we got an email about it months ago that someone was like, "Oh yeah, I'm watching this episode."
Excellent.
I'm gonna post that picture of Ace's face with the browser's logo on it. No, I'm not.
Oh, damn.
Not helping things is this weird fucking growth that the Black Pigeon has
just on its tummy.
It's so weird looking. I don't like it.
It can shoot it off.
Yeah.
And then it can shoot beams out of that. It was a plug. Does that
Not
make
like the
it
plugs
worse?
we'll do at the end of this podcast.
Yeah. So
this is a terrible monster without the hyphen IMO.
well, so first of all, I mentioned it in the summary. I just want to call out right at the beginning of this episode, Hokuto and Minami are going for a drive, and Hokuto's like, it's so peaceful, and Minami's like, no, it's not. There are wars all over the world, and Hokuto's like, you're right. and I had to pause the episode and be like, oh, Pat Labor 2 summarized. Don't even need to watch the movie now.
Thank you. I'm glad we can get the same level of introspective politics here in Ultraman Ace.
Yeah.
In the episode about a pigeon lobotomy.
Oh, you know what? I stand corrected. Black Pigeon was the one with the flamethrower. I don't think Kaora had the flamethrower.
So, one thing I will say in this episode... Well, I have a couple of things to say in this episode's favor on account of the fact that it's really stupid. And
Here's the thing. I like this episode because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ludicrous. It's not. So the bird episode from Ultra Q is like good. This is like stupid, and I like it. But one thing I will say is that the Yapul are involved. This is a Yapul episode. They grab that bird and they're like, we got a fucking plan. All right, we're going to utilize the homing instinct of pigeons. This is ingenious. And then the moment like someone has like a pigeon whistle, they're like, it won't do anything we say.
It's funny how exasperated they are. It also feels like they just hear Hokuto just saying shit about pigeons with Ichinotani logic, and they just buy into it because they're like aliens, and they're like, oh yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
I assume he's correct. I think he's correct about Earth animals and how they work. I love how exasperated the Yapul guys are, because at one point on this podcast I said out loud something along the lines of like, I think what we should have a character in who's the guy working for the Yapul who has to figure out what monster to attack with this week. And is just getting increasingly annoyed at having to find more monsters. It's like, you mean I can't use the same one twice? No, it's your job.
This is the Yapul angle. One thing that this does that I actually think because we've said before how it's kind of awkward how it often feels like these are written as Ultraman episodes and then retroactively we need to figure out how the Yapul get involved. Mm-hmm. This is an episode where the Yapul are acting more as an alien force that is then, like, I don't know if I want to say infecting, but they're tampering with, like, the natural world, and then giving rise to the monsters. And I do actually wish that was an angle they leaned in more, because I do think it does work for this episode. Yeah, I'm not... I don't dislike this episode, but I feel incredibly neutral towards it, and I think part of the reason is that I cannot stop comparing it to when it's it's absolutely calling back to that Ultra Q episode, right, with the relationship, kids named the same, and I think it was better when it was just like a more traditional like boy befriends monster story. And I did not care nearly as much about this kid and his relationship with this pigeon.
It's
Yeah. Go ahead.
two things. One, I think the shot with with them at going to the museum and the pigeons are there is pretty cool. I don't know if it's a museum, but the building. I think it's just a cool shot. And two, I did have a bit of weird cognitive dissonance where I'm pretty sure some of the music played in this episode, like the somber sounding one, was the same one used in episode 33 of Return of Ultraman.
Oh.
Lol.
I have to check again. It's probably used in other episodes, but that's where I remember it most. And it was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
I've ever used OST between these two shows.
Yes, there is, to be honest. The thing that I want to draw attention to, before I forget, is another similarity between this episode and the bird episode of Ultra Q, is they are just fucking throwing pigeons around, dude.
Yeah.
They are just throwing that pigeon into shot. Just at the fucking ground. You're fucking spiking pigeons. And that's your job. You get paid to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
I do think out of context, the kid using the bird call while crying is a kind of funny shot.
What else is there going on in this episode to talk about? I don't know if there is much. Oh yeah, this building is cool. I do like this building.
Yeah.
Now that I look at it closely.
Yeah,
It's
it's for listener reference. It's like the shot with this cool building that Minimi and Hokuto run towards it, and there's this flock of pigeons that scatter as they approach it.
It's just before they find Saburo when he's about to blow the whistle at the docks.
Yeah.
There might not be all that much more to say about this episode. In which case, who made it?
This was directed again by Tadashi Mifune, same director as last episode, and then written by Shigemitsu Taguchi.
Hell yeah.
Who also wrote the Black Crab episode.
He's just having a fucking good time.
Yeah.
He's like, every episode I write, we need to mishandle the animals featured in the script.
This episode about how horseshoe crabs are endangered, and it's just like, well, we're just gonna to do this. We're just gonna go to the beach and just grab one, just pick it up. All right, Mel, what's going on in this episode?
Yeah, if you don't remember from 20 minutes ago, the kaiju designed by Yoshio Suzuki and special effects director is Koichi Takano.
Thank you. All right, well,
Not getting as much trivia, sadly, which is a shame. But
it's yeah.
fun.
Sometimes it's sparse. Sometimes we don't pull up loads of information. It's all right.
It's kind. I gotta beefier rollback trivia this time.
All right. Well, do we have anything more? Any last words on this episode? That is a no.
I thought it was fun. That's it.
Yeah.
It was probably my least favorite of this batch.
Damn.
I think it might be my favorite of this batch.
Damn.
What was the?
This truly Ultraman Ace is the divisive Ultraman.
Divisive Ultraman. I mean, my favorite of the batch is the demon woman.
Probably same for me.
But
Do you like the cow episode or this Pigeon and more?
What the fuck was going on with all the grease? Why was there the guy there who was taking stuff from Greece? Put it back.
Huge brain to have Japan do colonialism on Greece.
Yeah. How well do olive trees grow in Japan? I wonder. You can probably find places where it works. Like
there's probably places close enough to the Mediterranean climate.
But it's like, it's like how you can get wine in Britain. You can get British wine. It's like different to French wine. It's just not quite the same.
Yeah.
Okay. If we're done with these episodes, we can move on. First of all, Mel, color timers.
Yeah, episode 16, 2 minutes 33 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 17, 3 minutes 36 seconds. Episode 18, 4 minutes 35 seconds.
Only 1 out of 3 this week.
Yeah.
But you
Shameful.
didn't have the 36 minute. So
No,
you know,
no, like the
doing
Ultra
all right.
Brothers.
All right. What else? What else do we do here? We do. You've got the trivia and emails.
Yeah, got some trivia. I actually need to check we have emails. Oh, we got one, so that's one.
Oh, we got one. All right.
Anyway,
Shoot.
first back run back trivia. The first installment of the Ultraman run back.
Mm-hmm.
So a bunch of the stuff I covered in the first episode of Ultraman production history. So I won't be saying that stuff again. But just designer Toru Narita, as we all know. Sculptor Akira Sasaki. Here is the beefy part of the trivia section.
Okay.
Suit actor, our guy Bin Furuya,
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
who is, I guess, the first time we're actually doing a bio on a guy who is also just
Put that
an
man in a
actor.
bubble.
So anyway, her name is Satoshi. He graduated from Toho Drama School in 1960 and joined Toho because, monopolies are good. He made his debut in 1962, the film Halero Jailbreaker. Then 1965, he transferred to Super Productions. He ended up being put in last minute in the camera suit for that episode because they were tight on time, and he was the right physique for the suit. Because he's like a tall guy. He's 181 centimeters, or at least he was at the time. He was kind of like, I don't want to be a suit actor. I want to be like a face actor. But they were tight on time, so he's like, well, okay. He went on to play Kemer and Ragon, and he had a negative opinion of it. And so he was like, well, he didn't want to do it again.
Lol.
But then Toru Narita went to his house and begged him to be the suit actor for Ultraman, because he's like, listen, my vision, I have the design, and you're perfect. Your physique is perfect for it.
Damn.
Damn.
So basically,
that means Bin Furuya truly is Ultraman.
Yeah. Like,
Put that man on trial. Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, so he ended up kind of agreeing with it, because he was also like, well, movies are kind of in the slump at the moment. TV's taking off, so it's better to just do more work on TV anyway. At first he's like, again, he wanted to be like, he wanted his face on screen, not behind a mask. So he did feel good about it, but eventually he started getting more positive feedback from children, and he's like, oh, okay, this is nice, actually. Apparently the first Ultraman signature pose, where he's like leaning forward, is partly they say maybe because Furuya is kind of tall, and
He was
they
trying
want
to
him on
get in
screen,
frame.
but Furuya himself cites that part of it. The inspiration also, he saw the movie Rebel Without a Cause, and he thought the knife's duel performed by James Dean's character
That's
was cool.
cool.
So he's like, oh, I want to do that.
So Ultraman's in like knife fighting pose. That's cool.
Like that, yeah, like thinking about it, that makes sense. Like that is kind of what that pose is
Yeah.
Yeah.
evoking.
I've seen like some. I consider this false propaganda, but I've also seen like some of the Tsuburaya position of it is like, oh yeah, it's because he's in a defensive pose because he's being defensive and
Ultraman
not
is
being
never
proactive, and I'm like,
ever
what?
in a defensive pose. We watched that show.
He's like ready to lunge.
Yeah, that's just. I think they're just making that up. I don't think it's actually.
Yeah.
the noble
also-
hero Ultraman
Noble hero who
riding
punches
around
the
on the
animals.
back of that dragon.
Yeah. Furuya also know that his big fear when filming was, irrational fear of fire, and irrational fear of water, specifically from drowning, which Almost happened in one time when they were filming in a lake scene kind of thing.
Ugh.
Reflected on Magi's character, irrational fear of explosions.
Yeah, you would, it would be really bad if you got a fright over the fact that you were drowning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The year after, he played Amagi in Ultra 7, and he was thankful he got to be a guy instead of just a guy in a suit, because he was apparently envious of his SSSP co-stars.
Mm-hmm.
Naruto apparently asked him if he wanted to play. He apparently said, "Hey, can you do 7?" And Furia was like, "No, I'm gonna be the guy this time." Sorry.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That said, he did take an interest in 7 suit acting, because he was like, "Oh, hey, it's my successor. I want to see curious to see how he does it differently," kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A couple months after Ultra 7 finished in 1968, he started Bin Productions, which is a company that organized kaiju live shows and autograph sessions for malls and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
These shows were a success in the 70s during the big Toho boom, which we're in the middle of right now. But declined in popularity in the 80s when Toho was on more of a wane, and by the early 1990s, the company was dissolved. He felt so guilty about letting down his colleagues, he basically cut off relations with everyone he knew and went underground, and he started working for a cleaning company, but didn't tell them that he worked previously in the entertainment industry.
Huh?
Damn.
And he went so completely off the map that the public treated him as a missing person, and some people thought he was dead.
What?
Dude.
Holy shit.
And he just damn, I fucked up. I guess I'll just disappear.
I mean, it's not his fault that the culture shifted. Oh my god.
Yeah.
This is sometimes there's a time and a place for the thing you do, and it goes away, and that's no one's fault.
Yeah, having a bit of a normal one. Him being off the map happened and continued until 2007. When he went to an exhibit for
2007.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
A decade and a half. He went to an exhibit being held for the now late Toru Naruto and his work, and he signed the visitors list. And Naruto's wife saw his name on the list, and called him up and was like, "Oh my god, I'm so happy you're around and came to see my husband's work."
Yeah.
And then she connected him again with Anne's actress, who had apparently been looking for him for some time.
Damn.
And then he started reconnecting with other Super Ed co-stars Haruko Sakurai. Yeah, that's her name.
It does. I feel bad because I'm forgetting her name, but Anne, she seems very
active,
invested and active, and celebrating everything with Ultra 7, people who worked on it and who made it, and making sure that they're in the mix and they're doing stuff, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
I've considered maybe doing bios for the actors at some point, but maybe later. I'm not gonna do it right now. Because already a lot with what I have. But I'll think about it. That's Future Me's problem. Anyway, her name is Yuriko Hishimi.
Yes. Made a weird cake.
Made a weird cake. Her art was in the right place, question mark, with that one. But
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, basically at that point he started basically having more public face again and associating himself with the Ultra series. And then turned around really fast. 2009 had an autobiography out. And at the signing event for people were like, "Oh man, we're so happy to see you. Captain Magi, don't go back to the land of light."
Lol.
But yeah. That's all I got from Bin Furia. He's still alive. He's still doing stuff.
Yeah, he did some mocap for Shin Ultraman.
He also did mocap for Shin Ultraman, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've kind of playing at both.
I've seen a clip. It's cool.
Playing at both his roles as both Ultraman and also Amagi, which is cool. Here's some Ultraman head stuff that
I'll go for it.
I didn't know about. The fate of the different Ultraman heads.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, Type A, the real grangly one.
Mm-hmm. Proper papier-mâché type shit.
Yeah, so it was... Since is repurposed for the fake Ultraman in the Zero episode. Because at that point, you have the second head.
Wow, they really touched up for that episode.
Yeah. So touched up that it was also used again for Zoffy.
that
so,
makes
you know.
okay.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
But it's since deteriorated and no longer exists. Type B, the second head, was apparently just stole it in the 70s and no one knows where it is.
Okay,
Oh, that's fun.
it's out there. Someone's
It's
got
out
it.
there.
So no head?
Lol.
And then... No. Then Type C still exists somewhere in supervised storage. But the suit itself is no longer exists, so it just long since deteriorated.
Well, they have the important one at least.
Yeah. Now, gonna go rapid fire for these kaiju trivia, because you know what? There's not a lot to them.
Okay.
And also right off the bat, unless otherwise cited, they're all designed by Toru Naruto.
Yes. I expect so, yes.
Yeah. First of all, Bemular. Suit actor is Teru Aragaki, who apparently did some suit work for Ultraman and 7, and he was apparently the Gamera suit actor for the second, third, and fourth movies. Sculpture is by Takayama. They made it a waterproof material because they are going to film it in the water. Most substantial kaiju of this batch, Balton. The suit actor, there's 3 of them. First is Takeshi Sato for the first episode, Masano Tobishiki for the second episode, and Hakiyoji Watanabe for the brief show up in the Mephiles episode. The sculpting for the first suit was by Tomotsu Sato, and the second suit was Akira Sasaki. In the first episode, the suit was originally derived from the Cicada Man suit, because this constraint Naruto has become a fan of the original Balton design, because he was like, well, limitations. But also apparently the pincers got damaged on set by a lot, so they filmed extra footage to show the damage happening in between.
Oh.
That is just funny. By the second episode, the first suit had already deteriorated, so they made a new one from scratch, I think. This one is apparently a lot closer to Naruto's original design. Also, apparently, the scene where the Balton fleet destroy the refinery was just the same footage from the Pestar episode, just reused, which is funny.
I think we pointed that out, or
I forget, to be honest. But I may see when I go back to the episode.
Yeah, I feel like we, or at the very least, we talked about, like, was that the same footage? Because I do remember that.
Next, Naranga. Suit. Haruo Nakajima. Our guy, the Godzilla guy. The suit was derived from Pagos. Yeah, you can go listen back to when we talk about Pagos to get the full time of that. Kaiju may have been designed by Akira Sasaki, but then he says, I may have forgot about it. He forgot if he did it. Ragon. Suit actor for this one is Yuminesko Uzumi. They reused the head from Q, but Takayama made a new suit, and that body would later be used for Zarab.
Oh,
yeah, which is interesting. They made
Nice.
Green Ones. Suit actor is Hariyoshi Nakamura. Couldn't find a designer. Oh, I guess it's Toronata. But that suit, they burned it, like you saw in film.
Damn.
And then finally, Gesara. Suit actor is Teru Aragaki. Sculptor was Ryusuke Takayama. And yeah, the suit was also based off of made from the Peter suit with some spines.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's the run back for this week.
All right. Sick. Did you say we have one email?
We do have one email.
Shoot.
All right.
I'm also remembering now that we totally forgot to talk about Atragon, which I did watch and did not like. That's fine.
What, is there anything to talk about? You think about it or no?
No.
No. Yeah. You want? There's like weird
some-
Imperial Japan stuff. There's real Orientalism stuff.
Yeah, sometimes the only thing that can stop the whole world from being colonized by Atlanteans is Imperial Japan.
Yeah.
They made a movie about a submarine and Atlantis, and it's bad.
Yeah. It's like the Lost Civilization Mu, which is apparently a bunch of guys in togas, Egyptian coded, and then there's the lost fleet of Imperial Japan guys, and they built a cool submarine.
No.
And it sucks.
It's not great.
There's your bonus Toho Timeout for here. We can actually go.
I watched that last night and I completely forgot to bring it up. That's how little it stuck with me.
It's fine. We can just go to.
Yeah.
We can go to Godzilla vs. Mothra now. The real shit.
Yeah. All right, email.
Yeah, email. Okay, this is by Francis B. Hey, HQ team. I love what you're doing in the space. Your in-depth exploration of the Ultra series truly brings the legendary world of Ultraman and its friends to life for fans and newcomers alike. I'm glad you appreciate it as a fan, considering some of the takes we have.
Wow.
Oh. I made a mistake. I didn't vet this email.
Uh-oh.
This is an ad for AI.
What?
It says we are working on an AI platform that reverses your podcast audio into engaging visual clips, perfect for YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, etc. I think this would work well with your content. With AI doing all the heavy lifting, we can keep our small team small and pass on those savings to you.
Could you read the first bit again? Because this sounds like someone who has actually listened to the podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, Ultra Q team, I love what you guys are doing in the space. Your in-depth exploration of the Ultra series truly brings the legendary world of Ultraman and its friends to life for fans and newcomers alike. You know what? I guess now that reading that again, I guess it does sound like a
no. You know what? No one's listening. I feel comfortable just leaving this in and saying fuck AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, I write for a living. I hate you fuckers.
You know, I bet AI wrote this email too.
What would the AI usage for an Ultraman podcast even be? Generative AI.
I don't know.
We would make what would happen is we would make the kaiju lists and it would put a bunch of fake kaiju on it.
Yep, Yapua would make a kaiju with generative AI.
Yeah,
I told you that.
It would also give like the wrong histories for everyone in the production.
Absolutely, it would.
Yeah.
Man, we'd love the fake Toru narrator.
Oh, it'd invent new fake principles?
Oh, yes! Hell yeah! Fucking stupid. Anyway, so we don't have an email this week after all.
Yeah, it turns out we were just scammed.
We were scammed.
Rip.
Well, fuck
Not
ads.
emails.
No ads.
Not much emails for the season.
No emails. And
oh, that's so fucking funny.
I hope we get some good emails at Taro.
Yeah. Well,
motherfuckers tried to ruin the industry I work in, also tried to ruin my hobby space. Go fuck off.
all software I use updates and now has a little star somewhere that says, "Hey, do you want to use our new little you want to use some AI? You want to use some chat GPT for some stuff?" And I'm like, No, I want to die.
Next year's Ultraman season should have the villain use ChatGPT to create kaiju.
Yes.
Google did a big change that makes it so that top of search there's a dumb AI generated thing, and we have a meeting next week to talk about how this probably completely changes how we have to write web pages and shit for the people that pay us to do that. And it's probably going to be a fucking mess, and none of us are thrilled about it. So.
Could this bubble burst quicker? It's it's going to, but could it go quicker, please?
Well, see, here's the thing. I can tell you, leaving this vague, of course. People who maybe would in an alternate world or a previous world where this technology didn't exist and would pay for someone like me to write shit for their website for the products they sell, perhaps have decided, well, I don't need to pay fuckers for this anymore. Yeah. Let's just generate it all with AI. And sometimes when you do that for things you sell, it makes up things that it does or can do or features it has that don't exist. And when you're selling that, that's a legal issue. So, I'm hoping that enough shit like that happens that that maybe puts a little damper on people not wanting to fucking pay writers to actually write shit about the stuff they sell.
Yeah.
But
Would be nice.
I have a job for now, so I'm happy. But the future's not looking bright in a lot of ways.
Well, listen, no AI could have wrote this Prison episode. It takes a particular kind of weirdo person to do it.
True.
Absolutely. That's what Ultraman is all about. You put a bunch of fucking weirdos in one place and tell them, hey, can you write some episodes of Ultraman for us? And they all say yes, and they all have different ideas of what that fucking means.
It'll be fun getting to the part of the timeline where the writers actually do start talking to each other, because it does happen at some point.
Yeah, that'll I assume that will give us a different type of good show than Ultra 7, which is a good show. However, everyone's everywhere. Anyway, that sounds like it's a fucking podcast episode.
Yeah.
In which case, plugs. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at @ultra_Q. That is at @ultra_QUEUE. And that's kind of me. Mel.
You can follow me on the Spaces, Dear Crowns, Twitter, Bruce Guy. Email ultrapod@gmail.com. Please send emails. Ultra Fund is the coffee. Brad.
You can find me everywhere at Be Invoked. That's and by everywhere I mean Twitter and YouTube. That's BE_invoked on Twitter, and then just Be Invoked on YouTube. And I'm not gonna be here next week. I have a fucking fighting game tournament to attend, so I'll be at Combo Breaker.
Mel and I holding the fort.
Yeah.
If you are somehow also listening to this and also going to Combo Breaker, at me, and I'd be down to say hello.
Maybe next year I'll go to Combo Breaker.
It's fun. It is secretly the tournament that everyone who goes to a lot of these is like, oh yeah, if you go to one, go to this one. And I'm happy it's one I can drive to. So yeah, it's a good time.
To be clear,
and
unlike last year, we're not doing Red Band next week.
We are not doing Red. We're just going straight through.
Yeah,
I will leave y'all some notes for who made stuff when applicable and thoughts on episodes.
The funny thing is Redman's concurrent with this stuff, which is funny. We've caught up to Redman in the timeline.
Redman less violent than Ace.
Somehow.
Okay, that is a podcast. You can join us next time for 3 more episodes of Ultraman Ace. It will just be me and Mel, and then it'll be back to the 3 of us the week after.
Wait,
AI generated Brad.
Wait, hold on. When are we doing Mirror Man?
Oh, fuck. When are we doing Mirror Man? That's a good question.
Well, it's not going to be next week.
Do we want to shoot for June 9th?
But
I know that's a bit of a delay.
But when are we going to do the last batch?
When's the... Oh, hang on. When's the...
It's getting weird because next month is also the Netflix Ultraman movie, Ultraman Rising.
Oh god! I mean, that one won't be too much of a big deal to do.
Yeah, we can figure out. We can hammer things out. Off mic.
Okay, well, it's not going to be next week.
Yeah, obviously not.
I have been...
Week after will not work for me because it's too close to my work deadline, which is going to be hell. Okay. So, I could do 9th at the earliest.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll do 9th.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this year, we haven't talked about it on mic yet, but we're skipping Q differently, so it's not as dire. So,
when does that show even start?
July something.
Ugh. Can it not? Can it wait a bit? I'm fucking busy. The
land of light waits for no one.
All right.
We'll figure it out.
We will figure it out.
Tentatively, Mirror Man 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
Not 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now.
Yes, we will be recording on the 9th. Cool. That is a podcast. Goodbye. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Later.